The Widow, which started... when did that start? I'm all confused now.
Monday night.
Monday night.
Opposite the victim. And
Right.
Tuesday night as well, was it on?
Monday night and Tuesday night. Monday night, because of the scheduling of Britain's Got Talent, because that's on for a week soon, and there's 8 episodes of The Widow, they're having to do this weird thing where they show an episode on a Monday and then the next one on a Tuesday. This is the brand new drama from Jack Williams and Harry Williams, the brother writing duo, who brought us just recently, actually, Baptiste on Sunday nights on BBC One, a drama that, despite loving The Missing, we failed to really connect with or pursue. This stars Kate Beckinsale as the widow of the title. We meet her early on and we see her hiking in Wales, and then we find out that her husband, who we know she loves because we see them in little flashbacks being all lovey-dovey, has been killed in a plane crash. There's a bit of a twist, as the Williams brothers do. Has he really? Because it would appear that he made it out alive, and she sees him on TV in the Congo. She's not in the Congo, she's somewhere else. She sees him on the TV and makes out that that's him, and it starts a whole thing of, has he survived? What's this double life he's been leading? That is the very basic building blocks of The Widow, although there are other things going on. There's an appearance from Andre from Trapped, who is in there as this other survivor of the crash who is blind. Now, is he blind, or is Molly from Sherlock blind?
They're both blind. They're going. Okay. They're in Holland, going for this treatment, which I'm guessing will make them see, in theory. Yeah, and then there's a third story about child soldiers in the Congo as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's horrendous. I don't think it's awful. I think it's close to horrendous and awful. I think there's some clunky dialogue in there. But my biggest issue is with this thing that we've got now, particularly in this country. I don't know whether it's a rub-off from the Nordic noirs or the big American dramas that people love, but there's this whole thing that we've been starting to do, which is, let's place a drama in a lovely looking setting and let's let that do all the talking, and people will fall under its spell because it's somewhere new and exciting, where actually it's quite a boring piece that we've seen before. Kate Beckinsale is really wooden and really just very, very poor in this, and I really struggled to get to the end of just the first episode. Matt's right, The Victim in comparison to this was a much easier watch. I don't know how I got to the end of this first one, to be quite honest with you, because I did keep looking at the
clock. It couldn't go fast enough for me. I couldn't believe that I was only 20 minutes in and it felt like I'd watched an hour.
I had the same exact experience, Sarah. I was like, I have to be about at least 2/3 through the way of this, and I looked and I was about 19 minutes through.
Yeah.
It was a plane crash in the Democratic Republic of Congo nearly 3 years ago.
It isn't him. It can't be. He died on that plane.
They've never found his body, ever. It's good to see you, Emmanuel.
And you. It's been a long time.
There are some people, the soul is rotten. You can never hide who we are.
People don't just walk away from a plane crash. I know that.
They say hope is to be able to see the light in spite of all the darkness.
You want answers. You have to ask questions.
I needed to talk to you about Sankara Airways Flight 19.
Nothing you ever hear about that plane crash is true.
I don't think we can single out Kate Beckinsale as a poor performance, which is weird because it really was a poor performance.
It really
I think the problem was that everybody was emotionless, not just her. There was very little that seemed to happen, and it took an extremely long time to do it. And I did notice on Twitter, while watching it, the more glamorous sections of my Twitter feed were wondering how the hell her bouncy ponytail was surviving the Congolese humidity. I think
it's not a problem Matt and I can relate to. I mean, he had his ponytail took off. When was that? Like early last year? Wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I suppose the word for this may be over-ambitious, and I think the emotionlessness of it may come from the fact that everyone in the first episode is holding the cards close to their chest. They don't want to reveal too much because we've got another 7 hours to go. I mean, I suppose the big revelation was this guy.
Sarah's just feeling really sick again. You can hear that in her.
I suppose not
Yeah.
7 hours without the ads, you know.
Well, it
yeah.
certainly felt like 7 hours.
I mean, the most interesting bits for me were the bits, as you say, with Andre and Molly Hooper as these two blind characters, and where they sort of fit
Can you
into
just
the
say
rest
how amusing that was, how funny it was that they meet at a clinic, and essentially, is that a blind date or is that a blind date they went on? I thought that
You've peaked. You can leave now if you want to.
That's a good one. But then there's like big names in here like Alex Kingston and Charles Dance and people like that who pop up for no apparent reason. Their characters felt like absolutely useless, but having
they were drawn on a piece of paper with a pencil, weren't they? There was nothing to them.
Much like Strangers that was on, was that last year?
Yeah,
Strangers was on to. You sort of get glimpses of this wonderful relationship that these characters have, but you don't get to spend any time with them. So as a viewer, you're sort of disconnected and not emotionally invested in. Perhaps if we'd spent 15 minutes with Kate Beckinsale and her husband together and saw what their life was like before he vanished and then reappeared.
Before he bought her a pair of gloves.
Yeah, we might feel a bit more invested and involved, but it just still felt really detached.
It did feel like glossy advertising, like a sort of, I don't know, an IKEA advert about the perfect relationship. Or do you remember sort of Bran Flakes adverts from back in the 80s and 90s where it would be a family in a white linen bed, all dressed in white linen, and they'd be enjoying their sort of Bran Flakes as the morning sunlight sort of like streams in at them? And it just felt so glossy.
No, but I'm interested that stuck with you for all these years.
Where it lost me was the fact when she saw her husband, or she thinks she saw her husband on the news broadcast, the receptionist in the doctor's surgery actually spent the time rewinding the Sky News or whatever it was. Normally, receptionists in doctor's surgeries barely speak to you. The fact that she was so cooperating that she let this stranger dictate what she did with the TV in the surgery.
I'm impressed you knew where the remote was.
Yeah. So you don't. I've never been to a doctor's surgery where they're showing the news or anything like that. She must be on Booper or something.
I've not had much interaction with Kate Beckinsale. I've not seen her in a lot, and she didn't convince me here, and I couldn't decide whether it was poor writing or a poor performance. But I didn't.
I've always found her
all.
quite bland, Kate Beckinsale, if I'm honest, in the few films I've seen her in. I think they needed sort of some big starry names in this, didn't they? Because it was was it on Amazon Prime as well?
It was on Amazon in America and in Australia, so across the world they've already been treated to this. And then we get it.
I can hear the inverted commas there.
Yes. No, it's a shame because we loved The Missing. We liked elements of Liar, but the Williams brothers seem to have gone off a cliff a bit, and I think they are a bit torn of let's set this in the Congo because that's not been done before.
Straight away, you're in with these child soldiers, and straight away I was like, well, that's a bit of a lazy shorthand for Africa, isn't it? I mean, we all know that the Democratic Republic of the Congo's got a lot of social problems, but really, is that what we're going to focus on immediately? It was just a bit, just a bit unpleasant, I think.
But it does seem a weird place to set a show, and it didn't seem connected to the story. This seemed like, where haven't we gone before? Oh, this is a interesting exotic place, rather than
spin the globe and put a pin in it.
They may as well have done. That's what it felt like. We got Amazon money, we've got backing from ITV. Let's see where we can take it. And the fact is that maybe I will go back to The Victim, but I had no interest in going back to this. The worst thing is a drama where you're looking at the clock. You should be invested and involved, and Absolutely. At no point was I.